Well, welcome again and good evening. And coming into this service, we're going to have our talks and chats be a little bit different tonight. Tonight, we're going to cut over to Church After Hours. Going to be a great session where they're going to spend some time with our pastor. This will be Diallo Morgan and Kirk Kareem. They're going to spend some time sharing with him and going back in time and being reflective on those things that happened as they were youth, as we're kicking into our own youth ministry here at Zion. It's just incredible to see them and sharing at 40-something years old now versus when they were 15 and 16 and 12 and all that. I had some experiences with them myself. My man Barry Bonds, spent some time with him when he was about 15 years old. So it's just incredible. And I think we're going to learn some things tonight. It's insightful. Our pastor is going to be able to reflect back even on himself when 30 years ago, he wasn't in his 60s then. He was in his 30s and late 20s when everything was really kicking in. So I think you're going to really love this. Tell somebody about it. Tell them to tune in, kick in, watch this tonight, and you are going to be blessed. Have a good night.
Welcome to Church After Hours, episode 15. This is our season finale, and boy, do we have a good one for you today. But like we always do a recap on our most recent episode, which was episode 14, with my little sister, the thorn in my side sometimes, and I think most people really enjoyed her episode. Kurt, what did you think about episode 14?
Oh man, I thought there was a large range of emotions. There was some things that were very personable that she spoke about, but there was also some things that was just hilarious.
Yeah.
I think it was a good one, man. It was impromptu.
Yeah.
But it was right on time.
Yeah, sometimes some of your best material is impromptu, as this person that we're going to talk to next can tell you about that, being a great musician. But the thing I love most about my sister's episode, you heard from my brother, you heard from my parents talking about our move to Chicago, and I didn't really know how it affected her. So just hearing her talk about it and flesh some of those things out, it gave me a fresh perspective that I didn't even think about. So it was beneficial just for me personally in that way alone. So, well, we're not going to prolong you guys any longer. This is episode 15, our season finale, and our guest this week is none other than our pastor, our friend, our elder, Pastor Pastor Piphus. How you doing, Pastor?
I am doing great and just so blessed to be here with you guys. I've been looking forward to this, and congratulations on your podcast. It is absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you. And before we start, I just want to thank you personally. I know I thank you in text, and Erica said thank you, but thank you for mentioning the podcast and service. We definitely seen an increase in viewership when you did that. You didn't have to do that, and
Yes,
like I
did.
said on the episode after you did that, like we love to get approval from our parents and our elders. So when you said that you was checking it out and you was loving it, that made me and Kurt and the rest of the crew feel that much better. So thank you again publicly for doing that, because you didn't have to.
Listen, I've been so blessed by each one of the episodes and hearing your stories and laughing and brimming over with joy as you talk about the past. And I will tell you this, I can't tell you how to run your spot.
Right.
But don't change anything.
Wow.
I love it because to me, it's reflective of the Bible, where we see our heroes and we get a chance not only to see their strengths, but we see their weaknesses, their flaws.
Right.
Sure.
And you get a chance to learn from that. And so if you've gone through these stories, and I've heard both of you give your reflections and saying, you know what, that could have gone totally wrong.
Right.
And then you brought back powerful lessons. It's I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
that in itself means the world, because a lot of people we like what y'all doing, but y'all might need to change this or alter this, and I'm like, but
No,
coming from you,
let me tell you one other thing that will surprise you. It is so good to me and such a blessing to me that I must have my present youth leaders to watch it.
wow,
Because there's some elements in there around youth ministry, unity, support that you all have that I want them to see. I want to turn this on to some of my pastor friends too.
okay,
I mean, it's just that good. So please don't try to go in and brush it up and varnish it and all of that. Don't do that. Please don't. I'm loving it.
y'all heard it from him, so
Now I know the person that's gonna take that the farthest is Barry. Now, Barry's gonna hear that the most, you know. But that is refreshing to hear, and I must say, D, when you brought forth this idea, I didn't think it was going to take on the life that it has taken. Or I don't know if you thought that.
I didn't either myself. Yeah.
It was a conference call
Yep.
that myself, you, Jay, Barry, and Ant
Yep.
had one evening a year ago.
Yep.
And
As we were coming out of the pandemic.
as we were coming out of the pandemic. And I had been pushing D to do something for a long time, ever since he had his radio show. And I've enjoyed it myself because it's allowed me to reflect
Yeah.
a lot on things.
I see.
And I think it's very important personally for everybody to have self-inventory, no matter if it's every day, every week, every year, but you have to, have a good look at yourself and be able to be okay with the things that happened in the past, because they are going to shape your future.
That's it right
That's
there.
real.
That's it.
Well, let's get right into it, Pastor. Talk about your start in Lincoln Heights and how you started with youth ministry. Thank you to the Triple OG, Gonada Mukes. I didn't even know you got there, and then you started the youth choir when you got there. So kind of talk about how the origins of that started and how that transitioned to when we got there.
Okay, when I started at Lincoln Heights, I was 26 years old.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. And every Sunday, all the choir sang.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the adult choir that was under Charles Foles, Dr. Foles, and they would cause the rafters to ring.
Yeah.
They were just awesome. And then you had the men's chorus, Thunderous. And before them, you had the Angels of Mercy. What amazed me about them is the majority of them were I think 6, 7, 8, but then there were those who were in their tweens.
Mm-hmm.
But they were singing in harmony,
Right.
which was really, really unusual. And when they got up, they had this sense that, we got adults around us, but we will not be denied.
We belong.
We belong. We belong here. Make
Right.
no mistake about it.
Right.
And so as they grew older, I said, okay, we got an adult choir, men's chorus, but there's something missing. We don't have a youth choir.
Sure.
We came together. Granada, as she said, was really excited.
Yeah.
And just a great leader. So she rallied them together, and I put this song on them by Milton Bronson, Over and Over.
Chi-Town.
And they went up into that choir stand like David with his slingshot before Goliath, man.
Yeah. Slated.
Oh my God. They did it. And, I think of the scripture in Psalm 8 where it says, out of the mouths
Babes.
of babes and infants, you have established a stronghold against the enemy, your enemies, the foe and the avenger. And to me, the enemy of the church is complacency. Where you get into this rut and routine. They came in with such spirit of excellence that it stirred everybody up to do more, to be better in whatever you were doing. And they became evangelistic, setting a standard. So by the time you all had come along, you know, that standard was there, and they were so evangelistic. And I think I heard you say that when you came and you looked around and you saw all of the young people and what they were doing, you said, Mama, I gotta go there.
That's right.
I swear, and that's what was happening.
That's powerful. So I would imagine youth choir is what spawned youth ministry.
Absolutely.
Which was led by your beautiful sister, the angel, Miss Juanita.
Again, and taking it back when I got there at 26, I think for most churches at that time, they didn't have a youth ministry per se. They had a youth department. And then as I think about it, it's funny because it was really sort of loose in this youth department. So Joe Blow might decide on a Saturday that he wanted to take the kids to Kings Island. He'd go grab some keys.
Grab the church van, throw them in there.
Well, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. You know, so we restructured it, gave it purpose, and put some parameters around it. And some of the first people that I worked with to direct was Granada's mom, Miss Mukes, Geraldine.
Rest in
Mukes.
peace, Miss.
Yeah, she was an awesome woman. And she and Dr. Annie Orr, I don't know if you remember, she ran the school that we had. Yeah. They really worked it. And then by the time you guys came along, it had evolved into the hands of my sister. You know, and what can I say about her? She just has this unbelievable presence that when you're in her presence, she can bring out the best in you and drive the worst out of you.
No, that's real. That's real. That's real.
Yeah, you know, it's just amazing. And even now, she's the same way. And the people that she had around her in her team, Troy and Mike and Brother Young,
Renee,
and Tanya, the whole group. I mean, they were just wonderful people, man.
Yeah, they were.
And I'm grateful that they poured into you guys in the way that they did.
They did.
The main thing I remember about Miss Juanita was her gentleness. You know, and when you're young and impressionable, that is very important to have people like that around. You know, at times with social media and everything and being out in the world, you may see someone at Walmart calling their child, get over here stupid or stuff and things like that. And I don't believe that they realize the effect that that has on them. But Miss Juanita really raised us up and gave us a feeling of importance by the way she treated us.
Wow.
And
it was
just
impactful.
And just to echo what Curtis said, and she did it in a way where she never, I've heard Miss Juanita raise her voice once, and you know, and that's because we was off the chain at that moment and she had to get us under control. But every time she spoke to us, it was always in love. Even when she's the only person that could correct you and you didn't feel like she was really correcting you because of the way she did it, her approach. Like Kurt said, the gentleness was just amazing. Now, I want you to talk about how youth ministry and youth choir impacted you. We heard Granada and others talk about the impact, and us talk about how it impacted us. How did it impact you?
Youth ministry and choir impacted me in ways that you will not believe. You all help me to embrace my purpose and uniqueness as a person and as a pastor. You all gave me a great gift, and that's freedom. And I'll tell you how. In the late 90s, I was at a conference on reconciliation, and this guy got up and he introduced himself as Rabbi Goldberg, I think it was. And he said, "I'm a teacher." And the Holy Spirit got in my face and said, "You are a teacher and you've been competing with the choir." And that totally changed my ministry.
Wow.
So I had to go from the mentality, and I'm being really transparent, the mentality of getting over in the worship, shouting people, to actually getting through with the message and embracing the fact that the Bible didn't need my help.
Right.
I mean, it stands on its own. And at that moment, I got a chance to just see in my mind Jesus and how he taught. Without all of the trappings, just the straight word of God. So I began to do that. And then one Sunday, as I'm involving in this, it's like in the 90s, and I was talking about the jihadists in the Middle East. And this young guy named D'Elo Morgan had conversation with me about it, that he was engaged in that moment. And I said, really? Somebody's picking up what I'm putting down? And then I would see this young guy named Kurt Kareem looking wide-eyed as he was when I came in today. I mean, just really curious about stuff. And so I said, okay, God, this is what's up. This is working.
Yeah.
And I embraced that. It was tough.
Yeah.
Because creativity, anything new sometimes in the church may not go over so well. But you all embraced it and said, no, we don't need you to be a clone.
Right.
You just be you.
Yep.
And that impacted me.
I love that you spoke on your uniqueness, because as I alluded to, in the early episodes, that's what I was drawn to, things like cars and clothes. And one thing about you never dressed like the traditional pastor with the big knot, with the stripes and the bright, you never, really hooped a lot.
Well, he used to call it the whom not preachers.
Yeah, you did. Oh my God.
On the way over, I thought about that, and I wanted to ask you what drove your style, when you came to church, because it was very modern. As a matter of fact, there are preachers dressing now like you were dressing then. And they're just now getting it. They're just now realizing that, this is just like you just spoke about, having that breakthrough to get to people and not having a barrier between you.
Right.
What drove that?
Well, several things. One was that encounter. And with that, just teaching, it gave me the ability, this is funny, to hang the robe up.
Yeah.
And then also, in the tradition at that time, after you preached and hooped and all of that kind of stuff, then a nurse would come out and put
Put
this
the cape on you. bring you a cup of juice or some water, or now they got Gatorade. I'm sorry, Pastor, go ahead and finish. I'm from that tradition, so I know.
I am too. I am.
My beloved mother, Lillian Foster,
Oh my
was the
God,
one
yes.
that
Love
did that. I mean, she took care of our kids. That was what she did. But to get to where you're talking about, I hung up the robe and I hid that cape.
And now that you're saying that, I never thought about the cape.
Yeah.
I never thought about the fact that you didn't have one on until you're saying that now. You know, I think the out of sight, out of mind cliche
Right.
is something that, but yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I had great teachers. My pastor, Dr. Robert Smith, who's, I mean, in his presentation is just great. But also there was a professor in college that helped me to just look at things in the full context.
Right.
And how to connect with the heart. And so I had to ask, with that robe, with that cape, and you coming in at 15 and a 25-year-old, how am I connecting with you?
More than likely, you're not.
More than likely, I am not. And then when I come out of this, how am I connecting with you? Well, if I'm connecting with you without all of the trappings, why can't I do it on a consistent basis?
Right. And just to drive that home before we get into, I got a classic story that y'all gonna love. It's a holy hustle and a sinners and saints. And Barry, you not here, so I gotta throw you under the bus. I'm just letting you know. Just to drive that point home, and I talked about this, I think in episode 1 or 2. My first Sunday, I did the audition. God rest her dead, Miss Moore. I love her. She set it up. Audition, Reverend Piphus, I like you. You got the job. My first Sunday was a Christmas Sunday, and you brought me in the office. He said, "I'm gonna do this little riff." He had a conga, a little bongo, and we did a little drummer boy thing together. He probably don't even remember this. Wow. And he had on some jeans and a sweatshirt, and I'm like, he looked like he going to choir rehearsal, not to Sunday service. You know what I'm saying? And me and him started doing our thing, and we was just riffing off each other. And then he preached the sermon. I forget the name of the sermon, but that song he did was Little Drummer Boy. So I was like, yo, I think God put us in the right place. I like this dude right here. You know what I'm saying? It was nothing like I'd ever seen before. So that's
I remember that.
yeah, that's a testament to you being, thinking out the box and not conforming to what others have been doing. Because every time I would see them put the cape on the passion, always my little mind, 6, 7, 8 years old, I'm thinking James Brown.
James
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the first thing I used to think of.
Yeah. I didn't want to do anything that would upstage the message.
Right.
And I think sometimes the flamboyancy elevates the speaker.
Yeah.
And it just totally upstages the word. And, and aside from that, that's just not my style.
Yeah.
And this is not to offend anybody. It's more of some gems being dropped of how maybe to connect to younger people.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a pause for the cause. As you guys know, if you watch this show, it's now time for either Sinners and Saints or the Holy Hustle. And as I told y'all, I got 2 stories in one. Y'all got a 2-for-1 on the season finale. So just follow me. The year is 1994. It is June. The Lincoln Heights Missionary Baptist Church Youth Choir is getting ready to do their concert, Hope of the World. Oh, wow. We had the blue t-shirts with the yellow writing. Hopefully we can find those pictures and we can get them in here. But this concert was immaculate. Y'all remember Anthony was like the little Steve Urkel character. Worldly behavior, it's satanic. Remember that? My brother and Al Brown was the thugs trying to tempt Anthony and get him off his path. Like Reverend Piphus, and shout out to his sister. We were just talking about her, his younger sister, who came up with this choreography and this whole nine. So to make the long story short, the concert was phenomenal. I mean, the church was packed. People couldn't believe what these young people had just did. But it was one issue. We didn't record it. We didn't record it. I don't know if they didn't think the concert was going to go as well as it did, because after our church services, people would be lined up ready to get their tapes. So we didn't record it. So then Reverend Piphus was like, look, we gonna have to redo this because people are requesting to see this video. They want to see this concert. They want to have this at home. So, but one person did record it that Pastor Piphus probably didn't know about it, which was the same person that records everything for us. If it's in church or we doing talent shows, Miss O'Connor, Barry and his mom. So Barry, I want you to tell Reverend Piphus how you and your mom had the recording and y'all was selling it. Making money. So you talk about you created the holy hustle term, but you created the holy hustle for real.
Barry, you was holy hustling. And
Now, here's the flip side of that story. Here's my Sinners and Saints story. So Reverend Piphus said we have to re-record this professionally. No shots at Miss O'Connor, but he wanted to make sure it looked right. Well, the first concert was at the end of June. We was going to reshoot it the end of July, Kurt. And what is at the end of July in Cincinnati?
The Jazz Fest.
The Jazz Fest. So, Reverend Piphus, him being just phenomenal with ideas, he said it's not going to be no Sunday service. The kids are just going to redo their concert. So we're like, all right, cool. But we didn't realize we wanted to go to Jazz Fest the night before. So we out at the Jazz Fest. We don't get home until 1, 2 in the morning. And now we got to be at church at 9, 10 o'clock. If you go back and watch that concert, it was nowhere near as good as what we had did a month before. Our energy was lacking. We wasn't focused because we had been out in the streets the night before. Exactly. So we were sinners at the Jazz Fest and we were saints the next morning. And it just didn't connect. So I had to share that story and give y'all a 2-for-1 today.
That's good. Y'all were tired.
We was tired. If you go, my mom got that video. I'm probably gonna go over her house and watch it after this and just laugh because you can see our energy was just down. It wasn't the same.
Oh wow.
Now, when we talk about right now in your life and your ministry, what are some of the things that you're doing now and how youth ministry and youth choir may have impacted what you're doing present day?
Right now, I'm in a great situation. Zion Global Ministry, just beautiful, beautiful people. It's been almost 3 years actually since we've had our youth featured in the worship. But prior to COVID, we had a phenomenal group of young folks, and they were doing great things. And because of their enthusiasm in the church, I was approached by a group called Philos, who afforded us an opportunity to go to Jerusalem. And they allowed me to select some young folks and take them there for free. And the deal was, before COVID again, was I was able to go 3 times. So hopefully we'll be able to reboot that.
That's awesome.
And get that going again. But the kids are involved in missions and that kind of thing. And we're setting up ministry for them as we speak. Tomorrow they're supposed to have their first session back together.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, brother.
I didn't have nothing.
Okay. Now,
You sure?
I have to ask this question because I've brought it up on this podcast several times, and I know I talked about it in the first one, and I couldn't find my tape. Me and my wife was looking for it this morning. I know it's in the house somewhere, but I want you to talk about a sermon series you did where you asked everybody in the church to stand up and who's basically you. I'm paraphrasing you. Who's gonna ride with me and what I'm about to present with this information? You were talking about the holidays.
Whoa.
And how we need to divorce ourselves from these holidays, in particular Christmas, the way we celebrate it. So I was on the drums. I remember I stood up with you. I stood up, not knowing what you was about to say. And from that day forward, I had never celebrated Christmas in the way that you taught us how we shouldn't be celebrating it. And I know a lot of people went back to doing it, and that's their business. I'm not taking shots at anybody, but talk about that sermon series and how important that was, because I remember, you know, as a kid, you kind of hear the church rumblings, the gossip lines, like, Pastor that went too far. Now he's taking our Christmas trees and he don't want us to celebrate Christmas anymore. Talk about how you got to that point to even deliver that message, and how, you know, you was able to, you know, make people realize some of the things that we were taught wasn't always right.
You asked some good questions. Oh, have mercy. So the first encounter, you're competing with the choir, you're a teacher. Second encounter with the Spirit a few years later was the empowering of the Holy Spirit. I mean, I was just new. I'd heard about it.
Yeah.
But these sisters came in laughing at me. I mean, in a joyful kind of way, and happy about the experience. And one of the things they said to me, Kurt, was, the word is going to start to look different to you now.
Wow.
What do you mean? And they're just laughing up a storm.
Wow.
So shortly thereafter, the Spirit who said, and I will guide you into all truth,
Right.
started revealing these things. And I studied them, and I was foolish enough to teach it.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah,
Glad you did.
So I taught it, and the thing about that kind of teaching, I realize now, is that it takes time to catch on. I wish I could remember the lady who made Juneteenth known, and she's been at it
Yeah.
for some time.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't until this celebration
Right.
that things just really blew up. And what I gathered in my spirit was, although I started bringing this, what you said, in the 90s,
Yeah, late 90s.
yeah. Some people are catching on to it. Some have been able to move away from it. Some are saying, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
you know. But in the larger context, I wish that we would just step back and look at it,
Yeah.
examine it,
Yeah.
and see how does it line up with Scripture. And as a people, we talk about economic viability all the time.
Man.
And yet, when it comes to these holidays, if we would just look and see how much we spend,
Boy.
and take that and then look at our neighborhoods now, that we hardly have
Right.
our own grocery store
Right.
in our own neighborhood. So just, if we were to do a study about how much we have spent in these holidays over the years, and how much money has gone out of our community that could have gone back to our community if we just follow God's holy days.
Right.
And he has his days.
Yeah. That series, that sermon in particular, totally changed my outlook. And like I said, I never went back. And I used to always wonder, when I would see people uncomfortable, it was kind of like a shift and a split. I don't know if you can remember this, but I felt like more of the young people were on board versus some of the older. And not throwing the elders under the bus by any means, but it's like we were kind of getting what you were saying and embracing what you were saying more than some of the elders were in the church at that particular time. But it was biblical. You was teaching God's word. It wasn't nothing that you had made up. It wasn't, something that you just created yourself. So I always wondered that.
Yeah, and it's all good. I understand wholeheartedly, D, that letting go of tradition is very hard.
Yeah,
It's very hard.
especially for our people.
You said that.
I said that. For real, it is.
I just want to, give an input on speaking on the holidays, and especially from a entrepreneurial stance. It is ridiculous. I mean, our biggest we're on a restaurant, and our biggest days are the holidays.
I heard you say that before.
And it just gave me on top of your sermons, it just gave me a different perspective. If you walk into a Kroger or a Walmart or Walgreens, you can see the day after Christmas, they're already putting out Valentine's Day stuff.
That's right.
I am totally in agreement with you, and if anything, sell something on those days. I mean, I don't know if that's wrong or right, but at least take. I mean, with this country being as capitalistic as it is, I absolutely stop giving your money away.
Yep.
Stop, having to keep up with the Joneses and have and spending more than you make. That is very important, because I truly feel that, that's when we are subject to temptation, and when the enemy can take advantage of us, when we are at our last dime and things like that. So I appreciate, you teaching us, not just the scripture, but how it has meaning in the world.
How to make it applicable.
And that's what we're thinking with the church after hours, because there is an after hours after church is over.
Yep.
And you have to figure out how to apply that word to your everyday life.
Yeah, and, it's not just the commercial aspect of the holidays that
Oh yeah.
disturbed my spirit, but on the other side, in being a pastor, to see the people who become so stressed out
Yes.
because they don't have,
Yes, absolutely.
because of
Yes.
a lie.
Yes.
It's just, it really is painful. And yet, if we look at God's holy days and see the powerful things that are there, where in those days he admonished all of the fathers to take their sons to Jerusalem, and as they were going to those days, to teach them of the significance. And that's the piece that we're missing. In these days, we're giving out gifts. There's no meaning.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we're becoming more and more materialistic and making idols of things. And it's
Right.
just crazy. It's just out of control. Where in God's way, he says, it's not about what you give that they're going to remember. It's about what you teach that they're going to remember. So teach your kids, teach them.
That's strong.
Absolutely.
We're almost coming to the end. I know Kurt wanted to talk about something, and I'm going to kind of throw him an alley-oop.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk about how you, and thinking out of the box, I'm going to take you back. You're probably about to laugh and go, because I'm about to put you in a time capsule. And it's how you would do things that most pastors and leaders in ministry didn't do. I remember this one Sunday, you invited the Nation of Islam to come to our church. Now, me growing up in Chicago, that's the capital. So I know, I went to school with brothers from the Nation, FOI. I went to school with the Black Hebrew Israelites. I knew about all these different sects of religion in our community. So I'm thinking, like, what is Reverend Piphus doing now? But as soon as I said it, I'm like, you know what? It's got to be a deeper meaning, and I'm sure he'll explain to us. So talk about why you would do things like that and why those things were important. Because I remember the nation came and it's like everybody in the church got scared. Like they ain't want to raise their hand or like they ain't want to praise or do nothing. And I remember the next Sunday you was like, why was y'all scared to show reverence to your God? You know what I'm saying? But talk about why you would do things like that and why that was important for you to infuse our brothers from the nation into our Sunday service.
All in a word of connection. Akbar is my cousin.
Right, right. That's real.
You know, just he's changed his name, but we grew up together serving the same God. And I discovered in my conversation with him that he still believed in God. There's some aspects of the Jesus story that he believes in.
Right.
He believes in righteousness.
That's right.
We want the same thing for our community, just in a different way.
Right.
And God created us when we were growing up together in these homes to belong to each other.
Right.
You know, and so why separate ourselves? Why this divide that would almost cause us to hate each other, you know, and pick each other apart when we need each other
Right.
Absolutely.
in community.
Absolutely.
So that's why.
Yeah.
You know, they have mass respect for me,
Yeah.
and I have mass respect for them. They are my brothers.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I remember you came to my uncle's funeral in Chicago, and one of my cousins, my dad's first cousin, brother Tyrone, he said, "Man, you look like one of Farrakhan boys." One cousin, y'all got to know my cousin Tyrone, you know, because Reverend Piphus is, you know, suited and booted. He looked real serious, you know. I'm like, man, that's the pastor. He's not in the name. He's like, oh, okay, you just look like one of my brothers. But that's just a funny story. My dad will get a good laugh out of that. But I asked that question because I know last episode with Candace, her and Kurt really touched on something about the erosion of the church. And I think the erosion of the church has happened and is happening because we aren't opening up our doors and being that conduit with the other, you know, people in our community that may believe a little different than us. And I want to let you really, you know, drive that point home.
Yes, I was totally moved with your move, you know, with the look of the church. I remember the sermon you gave, speaking about the reasons why. My question is, why don't you think others, or why do you think some are just now getting there? What was it that was in you that made you bold enough and brave enough to take the step to go non-denominational and also take away a lot of the traditional things that we see when we walk into a sanctuary?
I like that, Kurt.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I have to be careful in how I answer it for a lot of my brothers and sisters who might be in a situation where they want to make a change. And it all has to do with the timing of God. That's one. And then the support that you have. And as I said in the beginning, you guys gave me support and just encouragement to be free, that it's okay. And so for some people, they may not have that level of support, and so, you know, taking that leap like an Indiana Jones to the other side, you know, it may be difficult
Without a support system.
Without a support system.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this, and it's funny that the Spirit brought that back up to me. that Indiana Jones piece is that someone said to me when it was my time to leap, is that, you know, when you get to that point where there's nothing else, you just may have to go on and be courageous and take that leap. And so it really is a leap of faith. Because when I started this, we had no real location.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn really how to walk in faith. You know, it's one thing to go to a church, and I love the people of Lincoln Heights. They were just awesome to me. Everything was pretty much established.
Right.
You know? But to start your own, having no place,
Right.
you know, I really had to grow in faith at that time.
That's
So I don't know if I answered your question.
Well,
Or not.
in the sense that you had to grow in faith, and sounds like you believed. Also, that support system, your beautiful wife, your
Shout out
daughters.
Pastor
I
Marshall.
mean, I'm sure that has something to do with it, because as you're speaking about that, I'm thinking about the restaurant that me and my wife own, and how we had to build, and you know, and it went from a few people being there and saying things like, "Oh, I keep the lights on in here," to there not being enough seats for everybody. So I totally understand the true faith.
You got it.
The true faith.
Yeah, you
I
got
understand where you're going with that, and that the Spirit is saying something to me right now, and it's just it's simply that's the true example of the Lord, is that type of faith. You have to have that unwavering type of faith that of a mustard seed, the faith of a mustard seed. I remember, did we get? I had mine for so long, and I might have left it in a car that I don't have anymore. But we had a tube with a mustard seed in it,
Yep.
and the reason why I bring that up, because it always stuck out in my mind. To see it, you know, to actually see it in your hand, is to know it.
That's really a good analogy, and it is. You have to have. We talk about the faith of Abraham, but think about that. God says, "I want you to leave where you are now, and I'm going to send you to a place, and I'm going to bless you." Where are we going? Just go.
Don't worry about it. Let's go.
Yeah. So it's just that kind of faith, and you've experienced that with your business.
Yeah.
And it is a blessing to have your daughters to say, "Daddy, you can do this." Your wife to say,
Yep.
"We got this."
That support system.
And your sons, like
Right,
you,
right.
like, "Pastor, you got this."
Yeah.
And so for those who may be in a situation and you want to take the leap, I would encourage you to do so, and know that you have a support system. And if you need to talk, that's what I do now. Yeah, I'm just an open book, and will help in any way I can to get you to that next place.
That's awesome. Well, we've come to the end. It's fun story time now, so I don't know if Pastor has a fun story. I know Kurt got a fun story. I don't have a fun story because I gave y'all a 2-for-1. I gave y'all a Holy Hustle and a Sinners and Saints. But what I do have is Barry couldn't make it, and we discovered in our episode with Granada and our episode with DeMarco that Reverend Piphus called Barry stupid. He didn't. when we
Oh my
when
God.
when we got lost going to Miami, Oxford with him on a speaking engagement on Dr. King Day, I was driving. I followed Barry directions, and I could have swore Reverend Piphus called all of us stupid, which we were. I didn't take offense to it. We were stupid because we got lost and we was not following like he had instructed us to do so. But Marco and Granada said that Barry needs his healing. So Reverend Piphus, I'm going to ask you if you can please just tell Barry you're sorry because he will not let this go. That you called him stupid 25 years ago.
You know you wrong.
I give him pissed off on that one. I know you was gonna give it to him like that. Yeah.
Barry. I am so sorry.
All right, man, don't bring this up no more. The man just apologized. I'm sorry.
Benito.
And I told you, we was stupid, though. He wasn't wrong, but he apologized. So let's move forward. But Kurt, man, what you got for me this week, man?
Oh man, I honestly have a fun story of just coming in here today.
I like that.
It's been amazing. During the pandemic, I purchased a record player. I also purchased a record player for my brother Johnny.
Yep.
That he loved as well. We had we went online.
They had a Vinyl Wars on IG Live. That was fun.
We had a Vinyl Wars, and he had some up to date stuff that kind of beat me up pretty bad because my collection was more older, but just coming in because, as you can see behind us, you know. Records have so much personality.
Yes.
It shows so much of a person, and that Porgy and Bess album that I have as well, that Pastor has on a beautiful stand over here. You know, it warmed my heart to see it because it's a little bit out of the box, but I use music to, you know, relax me. I played sports for a long time. I ran track at OU, and I think back with all these podcasts we've done. I thought back to the instructions, you know, that Reverend Piphus gave us in the youth choir, and moving me away from the microphone because my voice was so horrible, and he did it very subtly. He would move other people. He would move other people before he moved me, you know, just to make it look like it wasn't him. I knew it was me, and I would be tickled.
That's your
know.
complex, boy.
Yeah, that was my complex. But it also prepared me for other times in my life, you know, that I had to take direction. And sometimes I may have not liked some of the direction I had to take, but, you know, to get that degree and to continue running around that track, that's what I had to do. So it was humbling. I've never forgotten it. And just coming in here and seeing some of these albums, and it just, you know, gives me a, you know, I'm not gonna say a different perspective on Reverend Piphus because he's always been a cool guy to me. But it's amazing to see.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And to be able to share, you know, and listen to these albums and
he
set
put
the
it
mood.
on,
Yeah, we got a chance to listen before we started, which was
Yeah,
amazing.
nice.
It was a good way to start the interview, too, before we got started. Well, Pastor, we've come to the end. We're going to give you the last word. Anything in closing you want to share with the Church After Hours family? And again, thank you for your time. Thank you for watching and telling people about it. And thank you for allowing us to come into your space and shoot our season finale.
Well, thank you for thinking of us and referencing those times and sharing with the world how you all were impacted by the ministry. And to see you guys grown up now is a blessing. What's amazing is the elements of your personalities that have not changed. I mean, you're still the guy that's thirsting for knowledge and wanting to evolve in God and keep that up.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I didn't know Kurt was up here until we walked in the room.
Yeah, he got here before me and you.
Mm-hmm. And as a kid, I always see him looking around with this wide-eyed curiosity. I mean, that's just him. He's just looking around. And to walk in and he's at the record player and he's looking at stuff and he's wanting to know and the song that he chose, I think, just summarizes the way I feel about you all. From
Wow.
Gwanada's time to your time. The song by Donny Hathaway, which is my favorite. To be young, gifted, and black. And take this moment and what you've gotten from me, share that with somebody else.
Yes.
That's what that song was saying.
Yes.
You know, we must open up and share with others.
Wow.
So I thank God for allowing you all to come into my life. I mean, it's just been, I am who I am today because of you.
And that's mutual.
Yeah,
Same.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Our story can't be told without you. So we
Absolutely.
salute you and thank you as well.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I'll be playing that song all day, man.
I know. It's stuck in my head. It's
That's
stuck
the
in my
song
head.
of the weekend.
That's the song of the week.
That's
That's
the
y'all
song
homework
of the
assignment. Go listen to Young Gifted and Black by Donny Hathaway, the live version. And Reverend Piphus dropped the gem on us. I didn't know he performed that in a women's prison. So when you listen to it, it sounds like he in the church, but he's in a women's prison. And you just, it'll take the song to a whole nother meaning for you. So check that out. That's your homework assignment. But that's episode 15, our season finale. We'll see you in a few months for season 2.
Church After Hours.